welcome back learners to the channel Unified Learning. Let's continue with class 12 Psychology, Self and Personality, Part 7. As we are done with the other approaches, let's continue with behavioral approach, cultural approach, humanistic approach. So in this video, I'm gonna cover all these three approaches. Let's move further and talk about the behavioral approach in detail. So behavioral approach. Behavioral approach basically believes in data that is observable and verifiable. Personality responds to individual and environment. So what behavioral approach believes that personality is made up of how an individual responds to the environment. This is how the personality is built. Next is, according to behavioral approach, the structural unit of personality is the response. So how you will respond, this is how your personality will be built. Each response satisfies a need. For example, child doesn't like to eat vegetables. So with the help of appreciation and conditioning and reinforcement, we can develop that behavior. So this is how the behavioral approach works. Okay. As later on taste will develop and learning by conditioning can be seen. Next we are going to talk about is the observational learning. So children imitate the habits. It's very obvious as you see that a small baby learns some behavior. Why and how? So due to the observational learning. Children imitate the habits of their parents and teacher merely just by observing them. Also, the core tendency that organizes the behavior is reduction of biological or social need that energizes the behavior. So what behavioral approach or observational learning is trying to tell us that whenever there is reduction of biological or social needs, it enhances the behavior. So this is accomplished by reinforcement. So if we want to enhance or motivate any behavior, so for that we need to give reinforcement according to observational learning or behavioral approach. So learning of responses is done by classical learned through the classical conditioning, operant conditioning and observational learning. So classical conditioning is given by Pavlov, operant conditioning is given by Skinner, and Bandura has given observational learning. Observational learning theory emphasis on social learning based on imitation. So basically it talks about the imitation. Okay, let's talk about the cultural approach now. So cultural approach focuses on the personality as an adaptation of individuals or group to the demand of their ecology or culture. This is seen in every individual. In many situations, we need to adapt the situation according to the environment. That is the behavior expected by us. The behavior which is expected by us, we have to give that behavior. We have to show that behavior. So a group of economics maintenance system. So this is the very important point here, children. So as whenever the culture includes the economic maintenance system, and it plays a very vital role in the origin of cultural and behavioral variations. So climatic conditions, the nature of terrain of the habitat and the availability of food determine people's settlement patterns, social structures, division of labor and other features such as child rearing and practices. Another one is economic maintenance system plays a vital role in shaping of an individual's behavior as well. How it helps, let's talk about that. So these elements constitute a child's overall learning environment. That is skills, abilities, behavioral styles and value priorities are viewed as strongly linked to these features. So if we are talking about the cultural approach, so we will also talk about all these points under that. Rituals, ceremonies, religious practices, arts get projected in people's culture and they are means through which the personality gets projected through one's culture. So in a culture, we will see some rituals, ceremonies, religious practices. So this is all the part of one's culture. And how we get to know about the person or individual's culture or personality? Through their rituals, ceremonies, religious practices. I hope you got it. Okay. So let's continue with the next topic, that is example of cultural approach. This is given in your book as well, learners. So you can read from there as well. I've just highlighted the important points of that Birhor, a tribal group of Jharkhand. Children from an early stage are allowed enormous freedom to move into forests and learn hunting and gathering skills. Children's socialization practices. So how they develop the children, how they develop children's socialization practices. So children development is done in tribal group of Jharkhand by making children independent, do many things without help from others. Another one is autonomous, that take several decisions for themselves. And another one is achievement oriented, so accept risks and challenges such as those involved in hunting. Let's talk about the next. In cultural societies, children are socialized to be obedient to elders and nurturing to youngsters and responsible to their duties. Okay, let's talk about the next one, humanistic approach. Humanistic approach is given or pioneered by the Abraham Maslow and Carl Rogers. So basically it talks about the fully functioning individual. What does the mean of fully functioning individual? So fulfillment. It talks about the fulfillment, and fulfillment is the motivating force for personality development. People try to express their capabilities, potentialities and talents to the fullest extent possible. Okay, let's talk about these in detail. So, assumptions about human behavior. So, first of all, it is goal-oriented and worthwhile. Who are innately good or born good, always choose adaptive and self-actualizing behavior. What is self-actualizing behavior? We are going to talk about that in detail as well. Okay. So, people are constantly engaged in the process of actualizing their true self. What is true self? And we are going to talk about all that in more detail as well. So let's talk about what is ideal self. Ideal self is basically, if we say, you can just see this diagram. Okay, ideal self is the self that a person would like to be. Okay, as we all have some or one another person as role model. So basically it talks about the ideal self as your role model, as what you want to be. Okay, so ideal self is the self that a person would like to be. Correspondence between ideal self and real self. So if there is more difference between ideal self and real self, so there will be discrepancy and there will be dissatisfaction as well. This is the state where there is more difference between that. Okay, as there is just very less part that is common, that is in common, that is it. So this state is known as incongruence, and as well as this is known as discrepancy also, or poorly adjusted individual who is not able to be the ideal person, who is not able to reach his ideal situation or ideal self. Okay, this is the state where the individual is well adjusted, and this is a real self and happiness where the most part is in congruence. Okay, so self-concept and experience are in more relation to each other. People have tendency to maximize self-concept through self-actualization. We are going to talk about that, all these things, that how the self-actualization actually works. So let's talk about assumptions about human behavior that we are just doing. Let's continue with that. So personality development is a continuous process. It is true that whenever you are in a new situation, new circumstances, so yes, your behavior will be changed. Role of social influence in the development of self-concept. So positive social conditions lead to high self-concept. and self-esteem, generally flexible and open to new experiences. So what is self-concept? We are already done with this, so please see that video. I will even provide the link in my description so that you can just go through with it if you're not able to recall it. An atmosphere of unconditional positive regard must be created in order to ensure enhancement of self-concept. Now, what is unconditional positive regard? So, unconditional positive regard is not based on condition. Basically, as many relations these days many relations are based on conditional. That if you love me, if you give respect to me, I will respect you. But there sometimes we need to show the unconditional positive regard. In some situations, some circumstances, or with some relationships. There, this is very important. So, this is talking about that situation. So, to enhance people's self-concept. Sometimes some people are feeling very low, and in that situation, we need to create an atmosphere of unconditional positive regard. Client-centered therapy. Rogers talk about the client-centered therapy developed basically attempts to create this condition. And what condition? This unconditional positive regard to enhance the people's self-concept. Okay. You will read more about the therapies in more detail in maybe further chapters. Okay. So let's talk about the Abraham Maslow. Abraham Maslow talks about the self-actualization, a state in which people have reached their own fullest potential. Okay, so optimistic and positive view of man who has the potentialities for love, joy, and to do creative work. Okay, so human beings are considered free to shape their lives and self-actualization. Self-actualization becomes possible by analyzing the motivations that govern our life. Okay, so what was the hierarchy of the Maslow? Let's talk about that. So first of all, it talks about the physiological needs. Physiological needs and safety needs are included under the basic needs. Next is the psychological needs. Esteem needs, belonging needs are included under the psychological needs. Next one is the self-actualization, that is the self-fulfillment needs. This is the very highest stage in this Maslow hierarchy. So, before reaching this stage, you need to actually reach and complete these all four stages to be to the next stage. Okay, next is characteristics of a healthy person. So, who is a healthy person? Healthy person is basically aware of themselves, their feelings, their limits, accept themselves, and what they make of their own responsibility and have the courage to be. Okay, and also they experience the here and now as they are not trapped. They just live in the present, not in the past and not in the future. Okay, learners, so this was the thank you, learners. So this was our approaches that we have just covered, that behavioral approach, cultural approach, and the humanistic approach. I hope this is clear to you, and if there is any doubt, please comment in the comment box and share my channel to the children who are in grade 12th or grade 10th, as this would, I hope this will be useful to them. And please subscribe to my channel and click on the bell icon to receive the notification of the new videos. And stay home, stay safe, keep learning. Thank you.